Hey everybody, welcome to another chapter of the Book of Sean. It's good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm excited about tonight's show. I have an amazing show for you. Listen, get comfortable, okay? We're going to take us a ride into a very interesting place. My dear brother Derek Watkins is here. We're going to talk about his relationship with his father, the journeys and the ups and downs with that. And it is a story that will touch your heart. It is a story that will change your life and a story that will open your mind. He's here tonight to share his father-son saga. And it is a story you do not want to miss. I'm telling you, get comfortable and settle in and take this ride with me tonight. We're going to do some Ask Dr. Sean later on. And of course, we always begin with some headlines. So let's do some headlines right now. Let's talk about the Florida Department of Education, which recently announced that it has rejected more than 50 textbooks, check this out, for next year's curriculum because the textbooks, according to them, have references to critical race theory. And when I read the article, I thought it was rather interesting because nowhere did the Florida Department of Education give specifics about what parts of the textbooks have critical race theory in them. And that's what I was looking for. I wanted to see what parts of a math, and these are math textbooks, what part of math textbooks have critical race theory? They just made the claim that the books have them. And so the Florida Department of Education they are rejecting these books because math textbooks, according to them, have critical race theory. And here's where we pick up the story. Because I want the Florida Department of Education to tell me specifically what part of a math textbook has critical race theory. That doesn't make sense to me. And do you know why? Critical race theory has nothing to do with math. Nothing. Critical race theory was created in law schools. It's to help people understand how the law intersects with race and racism. It has nothing to do with math. Nothing to do with math. I'm just hoping that the Florida Department of Education hasn't taken any reference to black people in the textbook to be tantamount to critical race theory because they are not the same. I want the Florida Department of Education to tell me where in the world in a math textbook is there critical race theory. I looked over at Steve-O. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's absolutely bananas. See, when it's all said and done, critical race theory, it's not about math. It's not about math. Math is math. Math is math. Now, it is true that African people created math. So, if you want to, I don't know, if you want to connect that with critical, but math is math. There's no white math. There's no black math. There's no Asian or native math. There's no gay math. Like, gay folks don't have their own math. Straight folks don't have their own math. You know what I'm saying? Math is math. 2 plus 2 is 2. 2 plus 2 is 4. What did I say? 2 plus 2 is 2? I'm not good at math. Clearly, I need a math textbook because I'm not good at math. But the reality is, when it's all said and done, the Florida Department of Education has a lot of explaining to do because I want to know what part of a math textbook has critical race theory in it. But this is what happens when you allow people who are not enlightened to educate your children. This is what happens when you ask people who are so preoccupied with power and politics to provide an education for your children. Okay? And just for full disclosure, as I just exhibited in front of you, I'm not good at math at all. So I'm not the one to be judging math textbooks. But one thing I do know for sure, ain't no critical race theory in them. Let's move on. So I saw this story, and I think it was very profound to me on a multiplicity of levels, of the little pantry in Nashville. So for over a decade, the little pantry in Nashville has provided and fed hundreds of local families in the city of Nashville, Tennessee. It's an important institution to the Nashville community because, as I said, they literally feed people. But apparently this week, hundreds of families in Nashville will now have to find another place to get a meal or go hungry because the little pantry in Nashville closed. The little pantry in Nashville that fed hundreds of people has closed this week. Tennessee is a very Republican state. It is a very, 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 very red Republican state. And I mention it only because it highlights my fundamental problem with the Republican Party. So in the state of Tennessee, check this out, in the state of Tennessee, as recently as March, Tennessee passed a new abortion law, which says that women are restricted from getting abortions after a heartbeat is detected. So in the state of Tennessee, most Republicans and most of the governmental apparatus in the state of Tennessee, because the law just passed, believe that, listen, babies have to be born. If you detect a heartbeat, the baby has to be born. Okay, I'm with that. I don't necessarily agree with your law, but I'm with the fact that babies should be born. I'm totally fine with that. I don't support the law, but I do understand that people want to make sure that babies are born. Okay, fine. I give you that. But what conservatives seem not to care about, and I'm going somewhere, is that after the kid is born, the kid should also be fed and educated. You follow what I'm saying? In the state of Tennessee, as recently as March, they passed a law that said if you detect a heartbeat, the baby has to be born. And yet in the same Republican state, they're allowing nonprofits like the little Pantry in Nashville to close, a place that feeds hundreds of people. So the state of Tennessee, much like most conservatives, they're not really pro-life. They're just pro-birth. But after you're born, they don't really give a damn about what happens to you. Because if they really cared, places like the Little Pantry in Nashville would not be closing. The same money that you find to fund all the other things that you care about, you ought to find that money to fund nonprofits that feed hungry people. Because it's not enough that a baby is born. That's not enough. After the baby is born, the baby has to be educated. The baby has to be clothed. The baby needs 3 meals a day for its body, freedom and culture for its spirit, and education for its mind. So don't tell me that conservatives are pro-life. They're not pro-life. They're pro-birth. After the baby is born, they don't give a damn. Let's move on. This one is for you, Steve-O. You eat Lucky Charms cereal? Okay, maybe it's not for you. So, Lucky Charms cereal is under investigation by the Food and Drug Administration after more than 100 customers made claims that the cereal made them sick. And the FDA confirmed that the investigation is underway and that they are aware of consumer complaints regarding the illnesses associated with the cereal. And some of those illnesses are nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, and all people are eating the cereal and then they're connecting how they feel to the fact that they ate the cereal. And the FDA acknowledged that there's an investigation to see what's going on with Lucky Charms cereal. Okay? And just for full disclosure, just like I told you guys, I'm not good at math. I'm horrible at it. I'm also not a Lucky Charms cereal kind of guy. When I was a kid, my favorite cereal was Honeycombs, and then it was Fruit Loops, and then when I became an adult, Fruity Pebbles. You like any of those? Okay. What's your cereal?
Cocoa Puffs.
He likes Cocoa Puffs. Really? That's disgusting. Ugh. Anyway, see, this is what I deal with, Cocoa Puffs over here. So, here's my point, though. Here's where we pick up the story, all right? So, a lot of people who wouldn't take the vaccine are apparently okay with putting things like Lucky Charms in their body. Huh? So you wouldn't take a vaccine, but you would eat Lucky Charms. And here's where we drill down. So all the people out there who wouldn't take the COVID vaccine, but have no problems with eating something out of a box, we call that cognitive dissonance. Because the claim you made was that you didn't know where this vaccine came from, and you didn't know what was in this vaccine. But you equally did not know, and continue not to know, as made evident by the FDA, what's in a box of cereal. Because apparently something in this box of cereal seems to be making people sick. The FDA confirmed there's an investigation underway. And I'm just trying to make a very simple point. That all these people went all this rigmarole about the vaccine and the vaccine and the vaccine and the black people and the vaccine and the vaccine, only to discover that billions of people have taken it and billions of people are okay. And the thing we actually should be looking out for was a box of cereal. Because that's apparently verifiably making some people sick. I should say allegedly, because it is under investigation. The point I'm making is this. You got people like Kyrie Irving, one of my favorite people to talk about, and our favorite people to discuss, who won't take the vaccine, but he'll drink Gatorade. And who knows what's in Gatorade? You can't even pronounce half the stuff that's in a bottle of Gatorade. You get the point I'm trying to make? See, the only difference between a box of Lucky Charms cereal and the COVID vaccine was that nobody on social media told you not to eat the cereal and made you upset about doing it. That's the only difference. Regrettably, a lot of people didn't take the vaccine, and some folks are still dying from COVID. For those of you who have, my advice to you is stay away from cereal. Let's move on. Here's my last one. InfoWars. I'm sure you heard by now this week that the company owned by Alex Jones had to file for bankruptcy protection in light of several defamation suits. And so InfoWars is now trying to seek protection under Chapter 11, and the defamation suit stems from the lies he told about the death of 26 people, most of them children who died in the Newtown massacre in Connecticut. 20 of the people who died that day were children. And Alex Jones went around and tried to convince people and tell people that it didn't really happen. He tried to tell people that the Newtown massacre was a hoax, and that these people who lost their kids tragically in the Sandy Hook, I think that was the name of the school, that they didn't lose their kids and that they were all lying about it. And so they sued Alex Jones for defamation, thankfully so. They sued him for lying about the tragedy of the death of children. I'm sure there's a special place in hell for people who lie, who try to convince other people and lie with respect to the murder and the slaughtering and the massacring of children. And so they sued him. They sued him, and thankfully and rightfully they won the suit. And now Mr. Alex Jones has to file for bankruptcy. And here's where we pick up the story. I would never rejoice at another person's demise. I don't think that, that you should clap when other people fail or come into trouble, because I know that failure is always lurking around the corner. And I don't clap when you fail because I don't want failure to come on me. But there is something about this story that I think is important for us to consider. And you want to know what it is? I don't gloat when people fail. But it's good to know that the principle that you reap what you sow still works. It's good to know that you can't lie and get away with it. It's good to know that you can't lie about children dying and get away with it. It's good to know that you can't use other people's pain for your profit and get away with it. I'm not celebrating anybody losing their company, but I'm just saying it's important to know that you cannot blatantly get out there and just say anything you want and lie on people's pain and just walk away like nothing happened. I'm glad to know the principle still works. You reap what you sow. What you put in the ground will come up and visit you later. Alex Jones tried to lie and destroy these families, and now he is in bankruptcy. And there's something about that you should consider. There's something about the fact that this man now, who lied about their pain, is going through his own version of it. Let me give you some advice, and I'm going to take this break. If you ever want to know what my best advice is always this, and it ain't even my advice. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you follow that principle, if you practice that law, you'll be all right. And if you don't, you'll end up in bankruptcy or in other crazy scenarios. And you won't be a victim. You'll be a volunteer. Let's take a break. When we come back, my big brother Derek will be here. We're going to talk about his journey with his father. You hear me? With his dad. It's a very difficult, arduous journey. It's an emotional one. So get ready, folks, because I'm telling you, this is going to be a ride. It's going to be one you're glad you took with us today. We'll be right back right after this. So I know what it is not to have a father. I was not raised by my father. I was not raised by my mother. I was abandoned when I was a baby, as many of you know who watched the story. So watched the show rather. So I always have a certain affinity for people who know what it is to have a sort of parental rejection and abandonment. I always have a heart for people who really, go through that, because it mirrors and reflects my experiences, and I know what it feels like to live with a question. Well, my guest tonight, Derek, has a different kind of configuration to this story, because it's one thing like to have a father but not know your father. It's one thing to have your father around but be rejected by the father that's there. That's Derek's story. Welcome to the show tonight, Derek Watkins. Hey, Derek, man, what's up?
Hey, Dr. Sean, what's up, man?
Yes,
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I tried to give your story justice, but there's nothing I'm going to say tonight that's going to outdo what you're going to do tonight. So here's how I want to start, if I may.
Okay.
And it's sort of a strange question, but I'm doing this intentionally.
Okay.
If I asked a 5-year-old you what happened to him, what would he tell me?
Wow. He would tell you that his father hates him.
Mm.
And he would tell you that his father hates him because his father told him that he hated him. He would tell you that he wasn't sure he had a father because his father said that he wasn't his father. He would tell you,
because there's a story behind that, and I tell everybody that story of what happened when you had to own his contempt for you.
There were several things, but one of the stories is I have two sisters. They have the same name, the same first name, and they are less than 2 weeks apart in age. So obviously they're by different women. And when I was about maybe 8, we went and stayed with my sister, and my father pulled the 3 of us in the room, my 2 sisters and I. If I was 8, they were both about 6, and really, really naive. I mean, they didn't know anything was going on. But my father, like you said, he had contempt for me. Like, he didn't want to touch me. He didn't, he just he had a grit on his face when he looked at me. And so on this day, he said, everybody hold out your hands. And so my 2 sisters and I are like this, and he's looking at our hands, and then he looks up and he looks at his girlfriend, and he just shakes his head. And then he said, all right, push out your feet. And so we are looking at our feet, and he looks up at her again, and he shakes his head. And he said, let me see y'all's moles, because my family has a lot of moles. Let me see y'all moles. My sisters had moles. I did not. And he said, I told you this N-word wasn't mine. I told you this N-word wasn't mine.
And when this is happening, and you're in the room in front of your sisters and his girlfriend and him, what are you feeling in the moment where you're being publicly rejected? How did you respond? Let me ask that.
It's funny. I was just picturing that younger me, and I don't know if you remember Charlie Brown when he was get perplexed and he would have that little line on his mouth. It was like when you have it's that uncomfortable feeling where you don't know what emotion to feel. So I had that reaction, but I was accustomed to him being mean to me. So it wasn't as jarring as the previous times.
Well, first of all, that just broke my heart. I mean, that for that not even to have been the worst of it.
Oh no. I mean, it was his family got involved. Like, I mean, his mother, she also hated me, and one time I was in college. I went to Morgan, I had a car. I picked up my cousins and my sister, and we all loaded in my little Volkswagen Fox and drove to my grandmother's house, who lived in Cherry Hill, Maryland. And my uncle was there with his girlfriend, and my grandmother introduced each grandchild with their parents' name. So she would say, this is John, this is John's son, and this is Keith, this is Keith's son, and this is, and she did everybody. And then when she got to me, she said, And this is Derek. He's a friend of our family.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
my uncle let it happen. You know, I've never forget. Like, he just let it happen, man.
So there's got to be a backstory as to why your dad responded to you the way he did, and why even his mom did. Tell me that. Take me into the backstory. Why did your dad so profoundly reject you the way that he did?
Because my mother, they were 20 when they got pregnant, and 21 when I was born. And because my mom had learned what kind of man he was, she didn't tell him she was pregnant. So he heard from other people that she was pregnant. And so to him, that meant that I wasn't his.
Wow.
I look just like him.
So just that simple. He took that to mean that you weren't his, and he was never able to sort of get over that initial sort of understanding of you. But here's my question for you. So I get how he felt about you, because you've made that clear tonight, right?
Right.
I got that. What I'm wondering is, in the midst of all of this, how are you feeling about him?
I loved him. I spent the next 40 years trying to convince him that I was good enough. And my father was a drug addict, and he was in and out of jail. And I remember telling myself one time that I was like, I'll do drugs if he asked me to. Like, I just wanted him to, I needed to be validated.
So you were so desperate
Yeah.
for his approval and affection and validation that you would have done just about anything to get it.
Anything.
Yeah. And here's my question. And did you do just about anything to get it?
No, I didn't do anything because, you know, I always, now that I'm an old man.
Right.
You know, I think that my mom's love was so profound that it kept me from doing so many of those things. And I'm from Baltimore, was born in 1970. So, you know, I come from a long line of men who were messed up, you know. And now being this age, you realize that black men born in the 50s and 60s had a different journey. And, you know, I guess navigating that was hard. So I always knew to give my father that grace, even though that was at the risk of oftentimes, you know, neglecting myself and spiraling into depression and having profound difficulty with rejection and abandonment. Like, you know, always seeking approval. Like, tell me I'm okay. Tell me I'm okay. My whole life.
Yeah. I know that your dad passed away, if we got it right, a few years ago. Before we talk about what happened right before his death, more generally speaking, how did his death affect you? Because if everything you're telling me is the case, and I certainly believe that it is, that you sort of live with this longing for this relationship, and then he dies, and then he leaves.
Yeah.
So what? How does that leave you?
It's so weird. In one way, it left me rejuvenated because I literally felt like he died because he had an option to fight for his life, and I asked him to, but I felt like he died to say, here, look, I don't need you. I don't want you to go through this. And he kind of just gave up, but I was with him, you know. As he was dying, you know, I had to take him to the doctor and hang out with him sometimes because I wanted my son to know who he was and to know how he was. And I wanted him to see that, you know, a bit of grace for what people go through can be healing. You know, I don't think I handled it as healthily as I could because I was depressed for most of my life. But, you know, just understanding that your parents are human.
Yeah.
And, you know, they might not get it right all the time.
So did the two of you ever like reconcile? Did the two of you ever come to a place where you're shaking your head? Tell me this story, because I this is the part I need to hear. What happened?
Well, he started calling me a lot, and I wouldn't pick up the phone. I mean, this was for about 3 years, and I didn't even know what to call him. I didn't call him dad. I didn't call him pops. I didn't call him by his name. I just didn't know what to call him. So it was awkward. But when I didn't pick up, he would get very upset and leave me like messages like, I'm just trying to talk to you, or I just want to see you one time. And so I listened to the messages, and I called him, and he said, I just want to play pool with you one time, or I just want to do this with you. And I was like, what's wrong with you? And he said that he was getting sick. And, so I learned that he was sick, and I knew that part of my role was to comfort him through this process. I knew that it was terminal. And so in that process, we got to know each other, and it was just a matter of weeks. And we got to look in each other's eyes and hold each other's hands. And one time I took him to the hospital, and after we left his appointment where they told him he had cancer, and it was for sure, if he didn't get this stuff, he was going to die. He was like, just let me die, give my medicine. I don't want it to hurt. But we got in the car, we got his medicine, and I went and got it. When I came back out, a Stevie Wonder song was playing, and he was dancing, and he could barely walk, but he was like, hey, Dad. And I got in the car, and he hit me, and I had butter crunch cookies. I opened them, took a bite, and he said, you ain't gonna give me none? And I said, okay, here. Gave him a piece, and he hit me. It was like we were little boys. It was weird. It was like he was like we were like the same age. He's dancing, and he just took a bite of his cookie and looked at me and just said, thank you. And I knew I had done something profound. And I knew it was the right thing to do. And I knew it was worth it to let him have a moment of joy and peace of mind.
Yeah. What exactly are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling grateful for the time that we did have, and I'm learning to embrace the whole experience and not feel so poorly about it. To not feel, I spent most of my life feeling like I identified as the kid whose dad didn't want him, the kid whose dad hated him. And so, now I've written about this, I've taken photos about it, I've talked about it, I've given talks about it. But now that my dad's dead, I kind of am on the outside of it, looking at me as an observer.
Yeah.
And so with that comes this other set of trauma, because, while you're in the trauma, if you're not present, you don't know. So to step outside and to see all of the things that happen to you, that's what was on my mind. Like sometimes I go inside and I look down and I see little Derek just wanting a hug.
Yeah. Listen, Derek, I got to take a break. When we come back, I have a question for you, because what I want to know is, did he ever claim you? Did he ever accept you? Did he ever, don't answer now, but did he ever say to you, yes, you are my son. Yes, I am your father. I just want to know that, because, woo, I'm telling you, man. Woo, let's take a break, people. We're going to get that question answered as soon as we get back, all right? Emotional. Welcome back, everybody. We're talking to Derek Watkins tonight with his amazing journey that he had with his dad, and ultimately being able to write about it and to be here tonight to share it with all of us. Derek, before we took the break, I promised everybody I was going to ask you this question, because I'm just so interested in Steve-O and I were talking about it we were talking about this conversation during the break. Did you ever hear him say the words that your soul probably longed to hear at 5 and 6 years old? Did he ever claim you?
In his own way. In his own way. He said things like, damn, you look just like me. Or referring to talking to someone else saying, yeah, because my son, this is my son, this is my son. But to say, I apologize and I own you and I know that you're my son, nah. He wasn't that type of man. He wasn't, but he also came from a situation with the father. And I believe that he was broken by his father, and that the only other person that he thought could break him again was me. And so he just pushed me as far away as I could be.
Okay, first of all, did you hear what he just said? I mean, oh my God, woo! Say that again. Say that again.
My father didn't respect his father and didn't have a relationship with him, but he longed for it. And it hurt him that he did not have the connection with his father. When he became father to a Black son, he risked feeling that same thing he made his father feel. So he worked his whole life to keep me away such that I wouldn't make him feel what he likely made his father feel.
And listen, that blessed me. I'm just saying. I'm supposed to be blessing you, but that blessed me. And that's not my journey. That's not my journey at all. I have no knowledge of my father at all. But it's so insightful. There's so much wisdom in that. And I think it explains why so many men may have a problem with doing what your dad did. Now, here's what I know, because let's bring it full circle, Derek. You have a son, right?
Yes.
Right, you have a son. Talk to me about that and how that circle has completed itself, or because I don't know if the cycle has repeated itself.
Well, I eventually got custody of my son, and I was a single dad. And I want to be very specific and clear that it's not to imply in any way that his mother is not a wonderful mother. She is a wonderful woman. But I had custody of my son, and oh my God, I was frightened. Like, am I gonna mess his life up like my dad messed my life up? But my son loved me in a way that I needed to be loved, and I loved him back in that way. And there was some healing that happened there. But the danger in it for me with both relationships was that, with my father, I identified as this kid who was mentally and verbally abused by his dad. And then, I then identified as the single dad of this great kid. So for many years, not until my father died and my son, became a man, I didn't know who I was. Like, literally, when my son turned 18, so I was like, I think I have a favorite color. And I think it's green. But I had lost so much of myself that I didn't even know those basic things about what I like to eat, because everything was about my son and my father.
So here is the question, therefore.
Yes.
And now that your father has transitioned and is no longer with us, and now that your son is himself a man,
yes.
Who are you?
Wow. I am everything that I have been and none of it. I am a proud Black man who has been an amazing father, amazing teacher, an amazing son, and I've been not so amazing at a whole bunch of things. I've had traumas that have left me feeling insecure and stuck in anxiety, and I've had moments where I felt like the greatest hero on the planet. So I guess I'm a bit of all of that, and I am now on this journey to embrace all of those things, to kind of do like this to all of us and bring us together so that we can live more authentically.
And when you say we, I'm assuming you mean yourself, right? Because
Yes.
what's at stake in this conversation is really your identity, and what, because now, see, here's how I see it. How I see it is, you've been given a chance to do what most people never get to do, and that is, after the storm is over and you survive the rain and come through the wind, how do you create a life now, one that's fully in your hands, on your terms? Because now you get to make an original sound. You're no
Yes.
longer your father's echo,
Right. Right.
and you're no longer responsible for your son. This
Right.
is the season where you get to make an original sound. And I'm telling you from experience, it's so much easier to respond to other people than it is to decide exactly what you want to do. But that's the blessing that you have. You're getting to decide exactly what you want to do. So I got two questions for you, then I got to let you go. Here's
Okay.
my first one, all right? Because I
All right.
want to move toward the positive and the better.
Okay.
Who do you and what do you want to be? You may not know it, who you are yet, but what do you want to be?
I am a very strong. I'm an artist. I'm a photographer and a writer, and I'm really really good at both. So I am and want to be just a person who makes a living doing my art, and showering the world with like beautiful images of Black people.
It's so amazing to me that just hearing that touches me, because you have this commitment to beauty in spite of the ugliness
Yeah.
that dominated the first, part of your life. It's such an amazing, I think.
It's intentional. That's intentional for me, because what I found is, we kind of mistake beauty for pretty and cute and stuff. And beauty to me is just the presence of life, just the presence of, just awareness, just knowing, just being. I don't believe that whoever you believe in would make some people more beautiful than other people. We are all equally beautiful and equally valuable. And when average people like me tell our stories, there's some other average brother out there or average sister out there that whose story is a bit more validated, because they're like, this cat can tell this, like the same stuff happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's what, I want to be that for people through my art.
Well, no, you are that, and you've done it tonight. Because I know a lot of people watch tonight, and they can relate to the story, because not all of us have had great relationships with our parents. Some of us, had to strive with them and against them. And for you to come here tonight and to tell the story the way that you have, I really thank you for this. I thank you for just allowing us to just walk with you through a difficult time in your life. And I'm so glad, and I know I got to go to break, but I'm so glad that you didn't come out bitter, that you didn't come out completely broken. When you gave your father that cookie, that said a lot about you, man. That said a lot about you. Listen, Derek, thank you for being on tonight.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. I love sharing stories of people who make love win, and that's exactly what he did. Loving someone at the end who never loved you at all. Oh my God. Listen, I honor Derek. Let's take a break. We'll do some Ask Dr. Sean as soon as we get back. I told you that was going to be a great conversation, and I know it did not disappoint. It really was just a substantive, really powerful, emotional conversation about one man's journey into rejection and how he tried to handle it, live with it, and overcome it. I'm so glad Derek came tonight. Thank you for continuing to be a part of this conversation. How about we do some Ask Dr. Sean, because I just feel like helping some folks. How about we do that? Let's do that right now. So, you guys always send me great videos and emails and direct messages, and this video is no different. Let's take a look at it.
Hey, Dr. Sean, I'm Danya, and I could really use your advice. So a few years ago, I told myself that I would no longer settle for less. And now recently, I found my dream job. I'm so excited about it, but unfortunately, it doesn't pay as much as I would like it to. So I'm wondering, do I take this dream job, or do I go find another job that's going to pay me more money?
Great question. Is it Danya? Donda? Sorry I got your name wrong. But great question nevertheless. Notwithstanding my inadequacies, that's a great question. And I think it really depends on what you value, what you consider to be your priorities. When I hear dream job, first of all, my dream job is President of the United States. That's my dream job. That's the job that I was born to have. But for several reasons, I probably will never have it. Unless, the Creator decides to do something special. But let's not make this about me. let's make this about you. My point is this. When I hear dream job, I hear the thing I always wanted to do, the thing I'm born to do, the thing I've been dreaming about doing. And I just want to caution you on allowing money to be the reason why you don't do something that you feel you're absolutely designed to do. Money is important, and you got to eat, and you got to keep a roof over your head and food on your plate and water in your cup. I get all that. You ain't gotta listen. You're preaching to the choir and the praise team when it comes to that. But it's your dream job. Meaning it's the job that if you never got to do, it would be the one thing about your professional life that you regret. It's the thing you used to sit around when you were 7 and wish you could do. It's the part of you, it's the job that the 11-year-old you can't wait to start doing. I'm not sure if I'd let money stand in the way of that. And even if I didn't keep my dream job, for 10 years, I at least want to be able to go to my grave saying, I got to do my dream job. Whether that was for 6 months or a year or whatever it was. Man, don't let the dream job go so easily. And maybe there's a way to make it work. Maybe there's a way to make, your ends meet and your income sort of sustainable so that you can support your life. I wish it was a perfect world where your dream job could support your life, but this may not be the case. But you still should go for it because it's your dream job and you only get to do it once. And money comes and goes. You'll have money and less money and more money for the rest of your life. But this is what you prayed for. And how's the Creator and the creation going to respond to you when you turn your back on what you've been asking for all these years? Think about that. Let's do a quick question, all right? That was a good question, wasn't it? All right, I've been dating a man for 3 years and he wants to marry me. I care about him, but he has never told me that he loves me. I asked him why he has never said those 3 little words to me, and he said it isn't a big deal. How can I start a life with a man who can't tell me that he loves me? This is simple. You ready for this? I'm not sure if you can. I'm not sure if you can. And I'm not sure if you should want to. Here's what I know for sure. I would not want to be married to someone who could not tell me that they loved me. No, I'm not doing that. Oh, no. And I know some people have a journey to love. Different journeys produce different outcomes and consequences. People respond to the love thing differently. I understand that. But this is marriage. And if you're the type of person who needs someone to tell you that they love you, that's part of what affirms you and makes you committed, and makes you excited about the relationship, then you need to reconsider marrying somebody who can't give you that. Because what he can't give you now, he might not ever be able to give it to you later. And you have to ask yourself, can I spend the rest of my life with someone who never tells me that they love me? I don't know how you're built. I just know how I'm built. And I know that would be an impossibility for me. Okay? You ask, how can you spend your life with someone who never uses those 3 little words? And I say it again, I'm not sure if you can, and I'm not sure if you should, but your soul knows. And if you can spend the rest of your life never hearing that you are loved, although he may show it in other ways, but if you never hear the words, and your soul is okay with that, and you go on down that aisle. As for me and my house, we need action and words. We'll be right back with more Ask Dr. Sean right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Let's do some more Ask Dr. Sean. Play the bumper, Hailey. I don't know why I get such a kick out of saying that. Play the bumper, Hailey. Anyway, let's take a look at this video.
Hey, Dr. Sean. My name is Marlon, and I need some advice. Do you think it's a good idea for me to give my input to a friend on their parenting? Or is it overstepping boundaries since I don't have kids?
Whoa, the last part got me. How you giving advice and you ain't got no kids? Did the last part get you? Yeah, Steve-O, we was with you right up until the last part. And here's why. It's not that it's wrong to sort of have an opinion about other people's parenting, but if you're giving an unsolicited opinion, then that's a little different, especially when you don't have any kids. That's not. Now, let me be clear. You can give advice if you're not in a particular situation. It's perfectly fine to do that, but you just have to be careful because you're not speaking from a place of moral authority. You're not speaking from a place of experience. You're speaking from a place of opinion, of what you've seen or read, which is fine, by the way. Here's the point I'm making. Be very careful, very slow, very subtle in how you interject your opinions on how people are raising their kids, right? When you already know they're going to turn back and say to you, but you ain't got no kids. Now, if people ask you for your opinion, that's different. That's different. Now, I don't know the scenario well enough to know if the kids are in danger or being hurt or anything like that. I'm assuming none of that's happened. That this is just sort of passe, run-of-the-mill parenting kind of stuff. And if that's the case, I think you mind your business, and you wait for the opportunity, the right moment, to sort of say what it is you think and feel. And then you always practice, because when I'm in a situation, because for example, I'm not married, right? So when I give advice to married couples and I counsel, I always say to them, I'm not married. I put that out there right away, right? But here's what I see, right? I may not be married, but I'm not stupid. And I'm not blind, okay? And I'm not young and dumb. So you can have wisdom. You just need to, put it out there. I don't have kids, but here's what I'm thinking and what I'm seeing. But wait for the right moment to do that, okay? Because people get real sensitive about raising their kids. They get real sensitive. Like I am a dad. So if somebody would have came, Steve-O would have came to me in my 30s and been like, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, I'd have been looking at him like, shit, boy, you better go somewhere and sit down. You better set yourself down, son. Y'all know, yeah, because people get real. These are my kids. I know what I'm doing with my kids. So just be careful and be strategic. Wait for the right moment to sort of say, hey, maybe you should think about doing this differently. Or, hey, this is what I see. But good luck with that. I think you'll be all right. I think everything will turn out just fine if you don't overstep your bounds too much, okay? All right? And let me give some advice. I don't know if you want kids, but instead of monitoring what they're doing with their kids, maybe you should get on your own parental journey, right? Because, take some of that insight that you have and apply it to your life. And it doesn't matter if you have biological children or if you adopt children or you have nieces and nephews. Maybe part of the reason why you're so ready to help is because you're also ready to parent, or you're ready to be a part of a child's life. So consider that as well, okay? But I wish you well. Be very careful. Wait to be invited, and lead with your deficiency. Don't try to speak from a place of authority, because they're just gonna blow you out the water. You feel what I'm saying? All right, let's do one more. Someone emailed me this question. My sister and I both lost our husbands 2 years ago. She asked me to co-sign an apartment for her, which I did. Her landlord reached out to me and not only told me that she is behind on her rent, but she sublet the apartment to someone else and that he can't reach my sister. Whoa. I am now on the hook for her rent. When I reached out to her to ask her why she went behind my back and did this, she ended the call and refuses to talk to me. I can sue her for the money she owes me, but I don't want to lose my sister over money. What should I do? What? Listen, put that camera back on. You ain't losing. You would not be losing your sister over money. Okay? If you sued her or confronted her, you'd be losing your sister over the principle. Your sister got you to co-sign for an apartment, did not pay the rent, and then sublet the apartment, and you think this is about money? This ain't about money. This is about respect. And then when you tried to hold her accountable, right, she flipped it on you and acted as if you were bothering her. You don't see a pattern here? Do you see a pattern here? And the pattern is you need to learn how to say no to your sister. You need to stop caring about this little word called sister, right? Because we load these terms up. That's my brother. That's my sister. That's my mother. That's my father. And we forget that behind these terms are actual people. And the term doesn't always cover the deficiencies of the person. That may be your sister, but she appears not to be a good person. So what you going to do about that? Put that sister thing away just set it off to a side for a second. And if she was anybody else, how would you handle her? What would you be doing? What would you be saying to her? I'm concerned that you even allowed yourself to go down this path. You follow what I'm saying? Listen, man, I'm not suggesting that you sue your sister, although I would definitely be suing mine. Although my sister's a police officer. She's got guns, so I gotta be careful with her. But the point of the matter is this, and this ain't about money. You're being disrespected. You're being fundamentally disrespected. Let me say it again so your soul can get it. You're being disrespected, and you need not to let that happen. Stand up for yourself. Doesn't matter that that's your sister, all right? All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. Derek was an amazing conversation. I'm so glad he stopped by. And for all of you, for all of us who longing to hear something from somebody we might never hear it, it's okay. It's okay. You know why? Because tomorrow will still be better. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all be good to each other. I love you. How about that?